As I walked around, everyone backed away from me, and they looked at me with fear, and I could not understand what had changed. An alarm went off throughout the prison, and the 2 guards appeared and took me to the front entrance and just held me there until the door opened. When the door opened, the bailiff put handcuffs on me, a muzzle around my mouth, and took me back to the courtroom where I stood before the judge once more. The judge addressed me and stated, "I don't like sending people down there. It changes them." I don't know why, because I've never been, but I do know that people come out different than the way they went in. For the next part of your sentence, I'm going to give you another child, and you might recognize her. A couple of bailiffs rolled in a cage, and inside the cage was the raggedy little girl who had bitten my ankle when I first arrived. The judge stated, "She's yours now. Take her home." Court dismissed. I left the courtroom with my daughter, and this time I had no problem finding my way straight home. When I entered our home, my wife yelled at me to get her daughter out of that cage, and she hugged the little girl. And the little girl looked back at me with a weird smile on her face. My other kids came to the room, took their sister, and then went into another room. My wife then said to me that she really needed to talk to me because she was starting to see things that she did not understand and needed me to help her sort everything out. She poured a couple of glasses of red wine. We sat on the couch, and she began to explain to me that she remembered going undercover to bust a prostitution ring. In the back of her mind, she remembered someone pointing a gun at her and her running away and then feeling a sharp pain in the back of her head. She asked me to look at the back of her head to see if anything looked weird back there. She turned her head around so that I could see the back of it, and I pulled her hair to the side and noticed the back of her head had a big hole in it. I didn't know what to say, so I told her maybe we should go see a doctor who could have a good look at what's going on back there. We jumped in the car and went straight to the hospital, and there were a couple of doctors waiting for us as we pulled up. The doctors met us at our car and said, "Let's get her in an examining room right away so we can fix her up." The doctors guided her into the examining room and set her on the examining table. One of the doctors looked into her eyes, felt her neck area, and then slowly moved behind her. The doctor leaned forward and whispered in her ear, "Do you want to buy some pussy or what?" The doctor walked in front of her with a smirk on his face, leaned forward and said, "Do you remember me?" My wife then looked over at me and motioned with her lips for me to run. The doctor pulled his jacket back, exposing a gun, and just as he reached for it, my wife jumped up and ran. I was right behind her, and we ran as fast as we could. As we were running, she kept yelling repeatedly, "He's the perp! He's the perp!" The doctors all chased us as we ran as fast as we could to escape the hospital. Some patients were pointing and screaming, "They went that away," while others were cheering for the doctors to catch us. And off in the background, I noticed my kids laughing and pointing as if it was some type of joke. We made it out the front door of the hospital, and just as we exited, the 2 cops pulled up and hit my wife in the back of the head with a slapjack and threw her in the back of the police car. They turned to me and began to attack me, hitting me repeatedly with the slapjack and throwing me into the back of the police car. I was unconscious for a while, but was awakened by my wife shaking me and telling me that the perp is the guy who shot her, and she remembers how she got here. She told me she was an undercover vice cop and that she was sent in to bust a ring of sex traffickers, and that her extraction phrase was, "Do you want to buy some pussy or what?" When she said that code phrase, her team was supposed to pull her out because that phrase signaled her life was in danger. She then told me that the perp was the last person she saw before she woke up in the hospital. Things were getting intense during the sting, and she knew she was about to die. She said the phrase, but no one showed up to rescue her. She was just starting to realize that her team had set her up, and they planned the whole thing to serve her up to be killed. She then looked at me very seriously and asked, "Is there a hole in the back of my head?" I replied, "Yes." She then asked, "Am I dead?" I replied, "I don't know, but if you're dead, that means I'm dead as well." At that moment, the police car stopped, and we were at the courthouse connected to the precinct. The two officers put us in cuffs and muzzles, and then took us to the judge in the same courtroom as before. The judge looked at me and my wife, and before he could say a word, I yelled out, "We're in contempt." The judge replied that he has no recourse other than to put me and my wife in prison until further notice. My wife looked at me as if I had just sealed our fate, but I looked back at her and said, "Trust me." She clutched my arm tightly and responded, "I do."
Wow, I really enjoyed this video. I can't wait to see what's next.